When Ed and Lorraine Warren walked into a haunted house, they told the world they were saving souls from demons. But what if the real story was happening back at their own home in Connecticut? What if the couple who inspired a billion-dollar horror franchise was hiding something darker than any ghost they claimed to fight? This is the story Hollywood didn't want you to hear. You know who Ed and Lorraine Warren are. They were brought to life on the big screen, holding crucifixes in dark basements, whispering prayers against demonic forces. The Conjuring franchise has made billions. These two people from Bridgeport, Connecticut, created the entire modern language we use to talk about hauntings. When someone says a house is experiencing infestation, oppression, and possession, those are Ed Warren's words. To believers, they're saints who risked their lives to fight evil. To skeptics, they're frauds who exploited grieving families. To the legal system, they're a cautionary tale about what happens when based on a true story meets prove it in court. Because in 2017, Warner Brothers had to make an impossible choice. They either had to admit the Conjuring movies were fiction, or they had to prove that ghosts were real, actually prove it with evidence in federal court. Ed Warren loved to tell his origin story like a cop writing a report. His dad was a Connecticut state trooper, and Ed saw himself as doing the same job on a different beat. His father enforced the laws of the state. Ed enforced the laws of God. The story starts when he's 5 years old. Every night, between 2 and 3 in the morning, his closet door would swing open. He'd see floating lights with faces coming out of the darkness. The worst one was an angry old lady. He'd hear footsteps, whispers, things that sent him running to his parents' bed. His father would tell him there's no logical reason for everything. That rejection of what Ed insisted he was experiencing shaped his entire life. He spent decades trying to prove his father wrong. Lorraine's story fits perfectly. She grew up in Irish Catholic Bridgeport, born in 1927. When she was 9 years old, she started seeing lights around people, auras. She told a nun once, "Your lights are brighter than the Mother Superior's." The nun made her do penance for lying. Lorraine learned the same lesson Ed did. The things you see, adults will punish you for talking about them. So she suppressed them for years. Then she met Ed, and suddenly she had someone who believed her and needed her abilities. They met in 1944 at the Colonial Theater in Bridgeport. Lorraine was 16. Ed was working as an usher. The weird detail about the story of them first meeting? The smell. Lorraine said Ed smelled like Noxzema. He was a lifeguard during the day and used the cream for his sunburns. Later that day, it started raining, and they stood under a gazebo together. They married in 1945 while Ed was on leave from the Navy. Ed's wartime service adds another layer. 4 months into his Navy deployment in the Pacific, his ship collided with a tanker and sank. He was one of the few survivors. That experience reinforced his belief that he'd been spared for a reason. Before they were famous demonologists, they were broke artists. Ed went to Perry Art School at Yale. He painted houses with reputations for being haunted. They developed this technique for getting inside these properties. Ed would set up his easel on the curb and start painting. Lorraine would sit with him. Eventually, curiosity would win. The homeowner would come outside to see what this young artist was up to. Ed would show them the painting and offer it as a gift. Once the ice was broken, the conversation naturally turned to the house. Has anything unusual ever happened in your house? It was social engineering, a Trojan horse made of oil paint and charm. Those paintings are worth thousands now. They're collector's items, physical remnants of the hustle that built an empire. In the early 1960s, Ed worked as a city bus driver in Bridgeport to pay bills. That's where he met Judith Penney. She was 15 years old. Ed, at the time, was in his mid-30s. According to legal affidavits Penney filed during the Conjuring lawsuits, Ed initiated a relationship with her while she was a minor. By 1963, Penney had moved into the Warren family home. She lived there for 40 years. One night, Ed would sleep downstairs with Lorraine. The next night, he'd sleep upstairs with Penney. She claims Lorraine knew about the whole thing. In the mid-1960s, someone reported the relationship to the police. Penney was detained and ordered to attend a delinquent youth office for a month. The Warrens created a cover story. They told everyone Judith was a niece, or they'd tell them she was a charity case they'd taken out of Christian kindness. In 1978, Penney says she got pregnant. The child was Ed's. Penney claims Lorraine persuaded her to have an abortion. The Warrens told her to say someone had raped her. The night they picked her up from the hospital after the procedure, the Warrens went out and gave a lecture, leaving her alone. Penney also described witnessing Ed physically abuse Lorraine. She said he would slap her across the face, and some nights she thought they were going to kill each other. When Lorraine negotiated her contract with Warner Brothers, she insisted on a specific clause prohibiting the studio from depicting Ed or Lorraine engaging in extramarital affairs, sex with a minor, child pornography, or sexual assault. Talent attorneys say that while privacy clauses are standard, a specific prohibition against depicting sex with a minor is extraordinarily rare. It suggests the Warrens and their legal team were building a legal firewall. The Warren estate denies everything. Judith was a long-term family friend taken in at age 18 due to a bad home life. No sexual relationship, no abortion, no abuse. In 1997, Stephen Novella and Perry DeAngelis from the New England Skeptical Society investigated the Warrens. They took the $13 tour of the Occult Museum and analyzed their evidence. Their conclusion? It's all nonsense. The Warrens had hundreds of ghost photos showing blobs of light and streaks. The skeptics recreated every single one. The blobs were light from the camera flash reflecting off dust near the lens. The streaks? They dangled a camera strap in front of the lens during a flash photo. When cornered with scientific facts, Ed would pivot to theology. He'd ask skeptics, "Do you believe in God?" If they said no, Ed would claim they were incapable of understanding the evidence. If you didn't believe, you were spiritually blind. If you did believe, you didn't need proof. The doll everyone knows from the movies is a cracked porcelain nightmare. The real Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll, cloth body, red yarn hair. In 1970, Donna got the doll as a gift from her mother for her 28th birthday. Donna was a nursing student living with her roommate Angie. They found notes written on parchment paper that said, "Help us," or "Help Lou." They claimed they didn't own parchment paper. They called a medium who told them the spirit was a 7-year-old girl. So Donna and Angie gave the spirit permission to inhabit the doll. That was the mistake, according to the Warrens. Demons need permission. George and Kathy Lutz bought this house where Ronald DeFeo murdered his family. They quickly became overwhelmed by the mortgage. William Weber, DeFeo's defense attorney, admitted on record that he and the Lutzes made up the haunting story over many bottles of wine. Weber wanted to support an insanity plea. The Lutzes wanted money. The Warrens arrived after the media circus started. They brought a TV crew. Lorraine claimed to be overcome by evil, but skeptics noted this performance aligned perfectly with commercial interests. And that's the house in Amityville. In 2016, Gerald Brittle sued Warner Brothers for $900 million. Brittle wrote the 1980 biography of the Warrens called The Demonologist. He claimed the Conjuring movies infringed on his exclusive rights. Warner Brothers tried to dismiss the suit by arguing the movies were based on historical facts. Brittle's legal team countered with logic. Warner Brothers claims the stories are historical fact. The stories involve ghosts and demons. Therefore, for these stories to be historical fact, ghosts must be proven to exist. If Warner Brothers can't prove ghosts exist in court, then the stories are fiction. Judge John Gibney refused to dismiss the case, stating, "The court declines the parties' invitation to wade into the truth or falsity of the Warrens' paranormal escapades." Faced with a trial where they'd have to litigate the existence of the afterlife, Warner Brothers settled with Brittle in 2017. Ed Warren died in 2006. Lorraine died in 2019. The Occult Museum is closed now. After The Conjuring came out in 2013, the quiet residential street in Monroe, Connecticut was flooded with fans. The town shut it down due to traffic complaints and safety violations. The Warrens were pioneers. They brought the paranormal into living rooms across America. They gave comfort to thousands of families. But they also left a trail of broken truths. The Judith Penney allegations, the debunked photos, the exaggerated roles in famous cases. Their true talent wasn't hunting ghosts. It was storytelling. They understood that people want to believe. They want to believe there is life after death, that good can triumph over evil. The Warrens sold that story better than anyone in history. And, as the billions of dollars in box office receipts prove, the world is still buying it. The question is, what were they really selling?